Hi there. Today I'm going to talk about a series that's been out there for quite a while. You'll be able to find it on the streaming channels, also on DVD and such media. And it's The West Wing, which is a political drama series. And it was written and created by Aaron Sorkin, who was responsible for such movies as A Few Good Men. I'll just go over the main cast firstly. White House Chief of Staff, Leo McGarry, played by John Spencer, a Boston Irish political professional who in fact persuaded the president to run for office. Josh Lyman, played by Bradley Whitford, is the political advisor and assists Leo, the Chief of Staff. Toby Ziegler, played by Richard Schiff, is the communications director. He's a New York Democrat and he is the most committed to the manifesto and is always urging everyone to keep on track, and he's most insistent on getting their policies into law. Sam Seaborn, played by Rob Lowe, is the assistant to Toby and is the main speechwriter. He's a former corporate lawyer. C.J. Cragg, played by Alison Janney, is the press secretary and runs the White House press room. She's at the podium presenting the White House point of view on news and current events. Now, originally the idea was mainly to concentrate on this group and only have brief glimpses of the president. But when Martin Sheen, who portrays President Jed Bartlett, was in the pilot, he was so impressive that his role was greatly expanded, and he's now one of the major stars in the series as regards storylines. The president was a former governor of Massachusetts. His background was an economist, and he is a Nobel laureate. Other characters include Donna, played by Janelle Monáe, who is Josh's secretary, and they have a sort of will they, won't they kind of relationship throughout the series. Now, Josh does have a couple of serious girlfriends throughout the stories, but in my opinion these are rather shrill characters who are a bit of a nightmare, who allegiance to their political agenda supersedes friendship. Another strong character that came in a bit later was Kate Harper, played by Mary McCormack, and she was an assistant to the National Security Advisor, and she has a background in the intelligence service. And finally, we have Charlie Young, played by Dooley Hill, who is a young black guy doing a rather menial clerical job within the Greater White House. He's spotted by Josh and given the position of what they call body man, which is kind of personal aid to the president. And this is interesting character because it allows exposition. It allows the president to explain things to Charlie, what's going on, which brings the audience, brings us into the inner circle. Charlie's mother was a Washington, D.C. police officer who was killed in the line of duty. So the world of the West Wing, and it's a bit unfortunate that most of the technical advisors and certainly the inspiration revolves around the Clinton White House. The West Wing drama gives us a much more moral and certainly less entitled crew than surrounded Clinton. The series illustrates the awesome pressure and responsibilities of the position of president. In an early scene, president's called into the Situation Room where a crisis has erupted somewhere in the world requiring a military response on the part of the United States. And he enters the Situation Room where there's massed ranks of generals and admirals all waiting for his command to go into action. And he has to weigh up factors way beyond his experience and his capabilities and his previous education and training. He doesn't have a military background whatsoever. And, we then realise the awesome position that the President of the United States is in. As President Truman says, the buck stops here. It's all down to him. Now, he does have advisors, and Leo McGarry was a jet pilot in Vietnam with an illustrious record. But at the end of the day, it all rests on the shoulders of POTUS, the President of the United States. It's his decision alone, and with great power comes great responsibility. And it really is brought home very, very well in that scene and in many others throughout the series, where there's many crises that he has to resolve. The topic of religion. Aaron Sorkin is Jewish, and he brings aspects of the problems of anti-Semitism and a basic Jewish identity, usually through the lens of Josh and Toby. Toby in particular is observant. He goes to shul. So that's an interesting side, but several of the main characters also are Catholic. The president is Catholic and he's religious. He goes to Mass. C.J. Craig is Catholic and Leo is Catholic. And Aaron Sorkin shows great insight into Catholicism and even in things like the use of hymns in certain of the scenes. I particularly remember Ave Maria being very, very poignant in one of the scenes. Just a couple of illustrations of the kind of writing and the kind of themes that are used in the West Wing. A couple that revolve around Josh. There's a storyline concerning reparations for slavery, and Josh has to meet with a black activist and discuss their policy on reparations, or the fact that they're not going to have a policy on reparations. And the activist presents his point of view quite eloquently, but at the end of the day, the position is that he wants the white population of the United States to ante up trillions of dollars and give it to the black population of the United States for crimes, horrific crimes that were committed centuries ago. And Josh retorts that when the SS officer released his grandfather from Birkenau, he didn't let him take his wallet with him. And I thought that was a very good line. Then in another scene, Josh has to meet a group of experts on renewable energy resources, and so they're all arrayed before him, and it's really quite funny in a way, but really it should be watched by anybody advocating this sort of nonsense, because the guy who's in favour of wind farms totally denounces the use of solar, for example, while the guy who wants to harness the tides is denouncing the wind farms. And everybody has good reasons why the others' solutions won't work. And Josh is just sort of dumbfounded by the idiocy of it. Aaron Sorkin is a big supporter of law enforcement and of the military. In early episodes, the FBI liaison to the White House has a prominent role, and the military, whether it's the Air Force, the Navy or Special Ops, are all portrayed very, very positively. The Secret Service, you see them, how they protect the president and his family, and in a later series, Mark Harmon, who later became very, very prominent on TV, plays a Secret Service agent, Simon Donovan, who's assigned to C.J. Craig, and there's a scene where she needs to go to the gym, and Simon says to her, well, rather than go to your regular gym at set times, use our gym in Secret Service headquarters, which is quite near to the White House. And when she comes out of the gym, he's just coming out of the range, and she asks to go in and have a go at shooting a pistol. Spoiler alert, at the end of season 1, there is an assassination attempt on the president. And prominent in this storyline is Secret Service agent Gina Toscana, played by Georgia Fox, who's the detail leader for the team on the president's youngest daughter, Zoe, played by Elizabeth Moss, who's now a really big star. And Zoe is dating Charlie Young. And in season 2, we actually find that the attempt was actually aimed at Charlie by a gang of white supremacists who are against any kind of interracial relationships. Now, this is a kind of theme that's been used in some other movies, for example, where there's an assassination on somebody and he's standing near the president, so the assumption is the president was the target when in fact he's the target. So it's a kind of fake, a diversion. But the actuality is, that's not going to happen. And if somebody wanted to kill Charlie, they'd get him as he's coming out of Starbucks, not while he's under the umbrella of presidential protection. So it's to me that's rather a silly or fantastic idea. Staying on the start of season 2 opens seconds after the attempt, and the president is being evacuated, and we're in the limo, and the head of the PPD, the Presidential Protection Detail, Ron Butterfield, played by Michael O'Neill, does a quick examination of the president, and it absolutely echoes what actually happened when President Reagan was shot outside the Hilton, and the detail leader Jerry Parr had to run that quick diagnostic on him, found the blood, and diverted the limo from the White House to the hospital. And that happens in this episode too. And the scene in the hospital is fantastic as well. They have to hastily construct a perimeter around it. It's very, very well done. A major policy aim in the Bartlett White House is firearms legislation. And this echoes the Clinton era assault rifle ban and magazine capacity restrictions, the nonsense that he espoused, and the attempt on the president and the shooting of one of the characters, I won't reveal which, is obviously adds fire to their debate and to their desire to have restrictions enacted. But Aaron Sorkin shows his even-handedness by having a Republican staffer who has been given a job in the White House, Ainsley, and in an argument with Sam, she says, "Your gun control position doesn't have anything to do with public safety, and it's certainly not about personal freedom. It's about you don't like people who do like guns." And it was a very well written piece. Several Republican characters played by such terrific actors as John Goodman and Alan Alda are in various episodes or parts of the series. And the writer gives balance and equality sadly lacking in much political discourse today. Another big theme, part of the president's foreign policy, is to try to bring a resolution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And he puts pressure on both sides to come to Camp David. And it's the Israeli Prime Minister and the head of the Palestinian Provisional Government, plus their entourages, turn up. And the White House team set out to cajole, to threaten, stick and carrot approach, to do deals, to offer all sorts of incentives in an effort to hammer out a deal. And both sides, the Israelis and the Palestinians, are very obstinate in the resolve not to give any kind of give way in make any kind of sort of deals that undermine their positions, and they really don't want to make any real compromises at all. Decades of conflict and so on. And obviously this resonates today. And it's very interesting to see how things they haven't improved. They've got considerably worse. Political campaigning is covered in two major storylines. Firstly, the president seeking re-election, and then in this final series we have Congressman Matt Santos, played by the amazing Jimmy Smits, who has been persuaded, rather against his own will, by Josh to run as president. So we see behind the scenes of these campaigns, we see the teams out on the road, the hustings, town hall meetings, pressing the flesh, kissing babies, and the polls coming out, reacting to that, political strategy, bringing political operatives in to plan the marketing campaign, the TV ads, all this kind of thing. It's a real good insight behind the scenes. Finally, just to sum it up, Aaron Sorkin's dialogue is dazzling. It's smart people debating, making points, converting other people to their point of view, putting up really well thought out arguments. His speeches for the president, for example, the State of the Nation is delivered several times, and it's actually better than anything done by the real political professionals. The cast is impressive, and you believe in them. They live their parts, and there's a growth as well, and the relationships mesh and change. There's death, there's grief, there's happiness, there's victory politically, and there's failure politically. The president does not have Congress, doesn't have the House on his side, so it's an uphill battle all the time. And finally, although fictional, Jed Bartlett is a better president than any since Reagan. And had he existed, we'd be living in a better world.